In just a few days, I'm heading out to Iceland for a 4-week trip to Iceland. This trip has been on my bucket list for a long time, and this time I'm not just bringing my clothes and the typical camera gear, but also bring camping gear. So I was in need for more luggage storage space on my bike, and this is what I got. So today I'm going to take you through Lone Rider's luggage setup. What's up, my biker friend, and welcome back to another video. This is probably my third or fourth video on luggage, and I've been through the different iterations of luggage, from a really light, cheap solution to something that is a bit more customizable and a bit more expensive, but still fairly lightweight for some of the off-road tours I'm doing. Now this is sort of the full-end gear when you have to bring a lot of stuff, and like I said in the intro, I'm not just bringing my regular gear, and especially the camera gear, which weighs a lot by now, and I'm bringing camping gear. So I needed a bit more storage capacity. So there's two distinct pieces to this setup. There's the Moto Bags, those are the side panniers, and then there is the Overlander bag, which I'm using as a top case. And there are tons of videos out on this luggage system. I'm gonna focus on the things that I liked in the innovations that I find quite important, and the things that stand out to me. So let's start with the Moto Bag. So let's start with the Moto Bags and maybe with the sort of accessories that come with it. So the Moto Bags are sort of in between hard luggage and soft luggage. You know, if you watch all my videos, that I'm really keen on soft luggage. There's a lot of advantage to soft luggage. One of the key things is that most of the soft luggage is really waterproof, which is sort of on the top list of things that luggage has to do. There's plenty of luggage out there that isn't waterproof. So waterproofness is a really big deal. Also, they tend to be more lightweight. Now, these guys, they're not necessarily that lightweight because they try to bridge the gap between soft luggage and hard panniers. Now, there are certain advantages to hard panniers, not many, but there's a few advantages. They have a lot of storage capacity. That's typically one of those things. They're lockable. Typically, they are, you have a key system, even though, none of this is really secure, but, it keeps sort of the occasional thief away, so they can't just open your pannier and take stuff out. So there is a certain level of security to it, which you typically do not have with soft luggage. There are ways to do that with certain manufacturers, but typically they don't come with that. And then the other thing is they're really easy to load. So if you've got sort of a square case or rectangular case, it's really easy to load and unload stuff. So most of my luggage that I had, it takes a bit of time to load the luggage. Also, some of the things that I've used earlier, if we were riding off-road, and I have to take the entire luggage thing off and then sort of bring the dirty stuff inside the hotel, that's sometimes an issue. So with hard panniers, typically you have an inner bag, you just take that out and leave the sort of hard panniers with the bike. So those are typically the advantages. Now what Lone Rider has done, they've tried to give you all those features and still give you the benefits of soft luggage. So the outer shell is soft luggage. It's a, I think I call it Hyperland, the material. So it's a really sturdy, well-made material. So you've got the sort of sturdy fabric, but you have all those features. You have a lot of capacity. These are huge bags, and there's a lot of stuff that you can fit in. They have a security system. They have this little latch, and it's pretty easy to close it and just use a padlock to close the bag off, which is really cool. And that's a huge advantage if sort of safety of your bags is kind of important. If you want to leave your bike for a little bit and go sightseeing, and you want to leave your stuff with your bike for a few hours unattended, that's a good thing. And then because these are semi-rigid, and I think that's unique to the Lone Rider bags, they have this sort of inner liner that makes them semi-rigid. They're really easy to load. I've been trying to load these bags for the past few days, trying the perfect setup for my trip, for my upcoming trip, just to make sure everything fits. And that's one of the things that I really like, is just how easy it is to load. Because my soft luggage, that if you have like a sort of a 50-liter sort of dry bag roll, or the sort of the side bags that I had, it's a bit of a pain to pack and get to some of the stuff. So they've maintained all the benefits from hard cases, but they added some of the benefits that you have with soft luggage. There's another reason why soft luggage may be a better solution. If you crash the bike and you ride long enough, you will crash it even if you don't go off-road. if you have hard panniers, the chances are you dent so the aluminum panniers and you have to sort of bang them in place. Sometimes they don't even fit properly. So with these, you can just drop the bike on them and it just will deform a little bit and then fall back into shape again, which is a huge benefit. There's also a bit of a benefit. You're probably likely to get less injured with this type of bag if your foot gets caught underneath it. You know, if you fall with your bike and your foot gets caught between the head pannier and the ground, there's a better chance of getting hurt. So they probably won't prevent it, but you probably have, you know, if you're lucky, you get away with minor injuries. So that's another benefit. Now, all these bags that I have are fully loaded. They're probably 95% loaded for my trip because I did a bit of a sort of test fit. And this is sort of my first tour out just to kind of see how the bags feel on the bike, you know, how it handles. And so I've got 95% of my luggage in, minus the toothbrush or something. So it's pretty much packed. I'm going to show you real quick how to get into the bag. It's pretty easy to do. You have these two top buckles that you open up and then you just have to get that sort of clip out of here. This is where the padlock goes in, which is really cool. So if you need it, you can put it in. So I just kind of, you know, push my hip against it because it's, like I said, fully loaded. Then there's another buckle that you open and then you open up the bag and then you get into it. Now these Lone Rider bags, they come with inner liners if you need them. In this case, I've been trying to squeeze as much luggage in as I can. So this side doesn't have the dry bag, the other one has, and I'll show that in a minute. So what I've done here, and this is the thing that has taken me so long, because I needed something for Iceland where I can get to my drones really quick. So I've got both drones. I've got two drones with me. So I've got the self-flying Skydio drone that's sitting in here. So it's an easy access for me to get to that drone. And I've got the Mavic drone that's in here. So there's the Mavic drone. And that's sort of an easy access. They sit on top of the bag. And you know, then it's really easy to get to them, do your drone shot, and then sort of roll up the bag again. So I'll roll that up again. So you can see there's quite a bit of air caught in here. Now so the fabric is waterproof. Now the entire bag isn't entirely waterproof. There's openings in the back, so I just squeeze the air out, and then you just kind of close them up, and then there's this little part where you get that material that you've rolled up. So you squeeze it over there and then close it up. And if you wanted to put your padlock on, you can do that, clean that up a bit. So it's really easy and really quick to do. So you see, it was quite easy to get in and out of the bag, especially for me, because I have to get to the drones, you know, a few times a day. And also they're sitting in a pannier that I can lock if I leave the bike. Now in Iceland, I have to plan to maybe hike up a few places and leave the bike for a few hours unattended. And just for the peace of mind, I wanted to know that they actually fit in there. I'm gonna show you real quick the other side because I want to show you the dry bag that comes sort of with the setup. It's a really cool sturdy dry bag that's in there. So this is the Lone Rider dry bag. Of course the Moto bags are not that small. I just didn't pack it all the way to the brim because I still have camping gear and sort of food supply in the lower end of the bag. So you can sort of pack it smaller or you can use the full capacity. I have two different sizes. This is the smaller side because it's on the exhaust side. It's the 31 liter, and then there's a 40 liter side, which is on the side where the exhaust isn't. So with the Moto bags, I have a good 70 liters of capacity on those bikes. This is very heavy duty material. So this is what keeps your bags really dry. The Moto bags, they have a bit of an opening on the other side of the bag. So if there's any water coming in or if you need to press out the air, there are some openings, so there's a chance that moisture get in. Now, I haven't tried it yet, but I would assume that sort of the top part where my drones are sitting, there's really no way for water to get in. So I didn't put them in extra dry bags. Now, if I think I need to protect my equipment, then I can use the dry bags and just, you know, keep my electronic equipment in the dry bags and protect them that way. So as one final thing to show is the quick release mechanism, which I think is quite cool. So you take a key and open up the lock. And there's a little latch that you can just open up and you take the whole bag off, which is really cool. Also, you can see that there's no base plate left. There's a few manufacturers that sort of use plates that you have to mount to the pannier rack and then their system slides in. I know Krieger does it, Moscow Moto does it. With these, that plate is sort of mounted to the back, and with the quick release system, it just comes off. Now, these little adjustments here, when they come in the box, they're made to fit a BMW 1250 GS, I think, or any GS model from BMW. In my case, I had to adjust these. It's not really difficult to do. You just have to move the blocks around a little bit and just fit it. It takes a little time. But yeah, once you've done it once, then that's it. And it's just as easy to fix the bags again to the bike. You have to lock it because otherwise the latch comes open. So it's good to do that. Lock the pannier. Done. Now I decided to get two accessory types for the Moto bag. This is the so-called mini bag. That's a 6-liter accessory bag, and there's a mole system all around the Moto bag, so you can sort of customize the bags and sort of add bags. They have a good selection of mole equipment that you can use from Lone Rider, and they're really well made. They're super lightweight. I was surprised how light they are and how sturdy the material is, because some of the other bags, they can be sort of sturdier and heavier, but they don't need to be. They're just as sturdy as they need to be. They're fully waterproof, and this is the stuff that you need quick access to or just need additional space, because what I didn't want is another sort of 50-liter roll on the passenger seat. I wanted the passenger seat to be completely clear. If I'm riding off-road, I need that space on the bike to move back and forth on the bike. So I didn't want to put anything on the back seat. So I got a couple of these, and the third one is on the way. Hopefully it gets here before my trip starts. And there's a few things that I put in here, things that I needed quick access to. Here's actually just a camping chair and the camping table. On the other side, I have sort of little accessories. There's a sort of a tire fixing tool, and there's a few extra straps in there. I think I have some duct tape. There is the air pump if I'm airing down the tires, and sort of little doodads. I've got a couple of locks in there. So little small things that I can keep in there, and I'm fine if they're not locked. And the other thing that I got is the bottle holders. Now they're not huge. The biggest bottle I could fit in though was a liter. So these are sort of, Germany, we're kind of, we have these bottles. These get used, I don't know, 50 times over. You bring them back and just deposit them, so they're pretty sturdy. They look a little beaten up because they've been used before. But these bottles, they hold a liter of water, and if you go camping, you need a water supply. That's kind of cool. And also, I sometimes have a bottle of water in the tank bag, and sometimes I just don't like to fill up the tank bag. For the same reason, I don't want to have anything on my rear seat, so I can just kind of push forward and compress the tank bag. So I try to keep it halfway empty if I'm riding off-road. So the water bottles, they now live here. Now the Moto bags are already pretty nice. There's lots of innovation for sort of soft bags that bridge the gap between soft luggage and sort of hard panniers, and I think they're really awesome. Now the Overlander bag, that was actually a huge surprise to me, because typically what most riders have is the typical dry bag. They come in 30, 40, 50 liters. I've had a 50-liter roll top now for quite some time. And one of the earlier bags, I think it was a 60 or 70 liter. It's a really cheap bag that I used for the first few years. So I didn't really spend a whole lot of money. I didn't really know what I was using. So I had this roll top bag. I think it cost me like 40 euros. And they're very simple. It's just a roll top. You open it up, put stuff in. Of course, the bigger they get, things start to get a bit messy in there, but it works. And then you take those bags and you take like rock straps or some kind of strap, you put them on your bike. The issue is that if you want to get into the bag, you have to sort of untangle all that. You have to take the sort of straps off, and it's a bit of a process to get into the bag. And that's one of the first sort of features that the Overlander bag has, where it's so much easier to access your content while the bag is still mounted. And the way they get this is because they use the same semi-rigid construction, so the bag is relatively light. I was surprised how lightweight it actually is. I thought it was heavier, just from the looks of it, with all the features and things that it has on it. It's a pretty lightweight bag. And because of the semi-rigid design, what they could do is sort of have the mounting points. So there's these clips, there's 2 on each side, and they clip basically directly to the luggage rack. But there's no strap that goes over the bag. So for a roll top bag, having that part sort of accessible and open, it makes it really easy to get into the bag, and I think that's pretty awesome. So you take the beaver tail, we'll talk about that in a second, and we'll talk about these straps in a second too. But here's roll top. There's a couple of clips on the side that you open up, roll the thing open, and there you go. You can access your content. Now I don't know how often you have to get into that, but if you wanted to, that's really cool. There's another thing that I thought was an amazing idea, but I haven't seen yet on any other bag, and that's the sort of air relief valve. Now, this thing is waterproof. It's made out of the same material as the Moto Bags. It's this really thin but very strong waterproof material, and you can tell how waterproof it is because if it keeps the air in, it'll keep the water out. So if you start rolling it up like this, you can tell like the air isn't going anywhere. And of course there are ways of, you know, trying to squeeze the air out, but they made it really easy on this bag. They just have a little valve. Open the valve up and then you can push the air out, and that is super cool and convenient. They have thought about this. It makes it really quick. So you can squeeze the excess air out, close the bag up. And then there's another sort of clip to keep the straps on there. We'll talk about those in a second. And then sort of the beaver tail. And you're done. That's it. There's even more features on the bag, which I think are kind of cool. Now, it doesn't mean that you need all the features on a bag like this, but it gives you options depending on how you travel or how you use the bag. There's a good chance that if I'm not using, you know, I don't need the full capacity, I'm just using this particular bag, and maybe the kind of trip is different. So there's different things that you can do with the bags. This just gives you a ton of options. So the beaver tail, well, first it looks a whole lot better. It cleans it up a bit. You've got the molly panel. You can, you know, mount extra stuff to it, which I probably won't do. And then you have sort of the typical, you know, sort of a map case where you can put stuff in. And then there's another opening here. Now this is pretty cool because you can use this thing as a backpack, which I'll show in a second, but this part is big enough for 3-liter water bladder. I had one at home and I put it in here. So it's another way to store water. If you need more water, you can just put the water bladder in here, and if you use it as a backpack, you can even use it while you're taking the backpack out. Pretty cool idea. Not sure how often I will use it, but just the idea of, you know, being able to do that, I think that's pretty cool. There's plenty of other pockets in here, which is great. And there's another thing that I noticed while I was just kind of playing with the bag of a feature that I thought was quite interesting. That's probably very particular to me, but there is a way to put my Skydio drone, that drone that keeps following me, sort of on top of the bag, fix it to the bag and put the beaver tail on top of it. That's pretty cool. Not sure if I'm going to try it out in Iceland, but in other places that are a bit more dry, that allows for even quicker access. I'll show you that in a second. So this is the Skydio case, and it's got these 4 loops here on the side. So what I did, I have little sort of Velcro straps that I can strap the drone on top of this bag. So 4 Velcros that go to the side. And then I can use the beaver tail. I can lengthen the strips and put that on top. So it is an additional sort of security of holding the drone in place, but also it keeps sort of the majority of the dirt and dust out of it. I've seen other riders do it. There's a few others that have the Skydio drone that use something similar. This is also pretty cool. So there's another sort of use for the beaver tail that I potentially have if I'm riding in sort of a drier place. Maybe I even try it out in Iceland if the weather is good enough. I talked about the backpack straps, which I also think are just a super good idea for various reasons. Now you can just take this bag off, and if you have your clothes in actually in my case, I have all my clothes in here, everything that I need to change. If I'm not camping, if I'm staying in a place, this would be the only bag I'm taking. If I can leave the rest outside, this is the only bag I can bring. So I can open up sort of the beaver tail and open the 4 clips. I haven't done this often, but you know, It's super quick to get it off. And then you basically flip this thing around. I mean, you have to extend the clips. I'm surprised that actually fits. Okay, this actually works. Like I set this up this way. So then, you know, you rotate it around. Of course, you can have the MOLLE side on the other side as well, but just for show purposes. And then you've got a backpack, which is really cool. You can also take your valuables. You know, if you're not locking it to your bike, you can just take that off and take them somewhere. You can probably take it on a hike if you don't pack it too full. I can tell this is already pretty heavy. I probably wouldn't take it for a very long hike, but it has the, you know, the pouch for the water bladder, so it's something you can potentially use. It's relatively comfortable to do that. Another benefit of having a backpack and having your hands free, especially if you have a lot of luggage, is that now you have two hands free. I always tend to have more stuff than the other guys, and I typically, if these guys walk once to the hotel room, I'm walking twice because I've got all that stuff. I've got the tank bag, I've got the drones. So if I'm taking bags out, or if you know, take these things off, it just gives you an extra hand. And I think that's pretty cool. Pretty good idea. Let's put the Overlander back on the bike in real time and see how it goes. So typically what I do is there's a sort of a middle strap to just kind of fix the shoulder straps that are on top, so they don't wiggle around. And then I just use the beaver tail on top and just kind of clean it up. And now it's 4 clips, which is pretty easy. Just kind of clip in here. I have to give them a bit of slack because I still need to tie them down. Same thing on the other side. And those clips, you can leave them on the bike for a trip. You know, for at least the duration of the trip. That's typically what I do. Same with if I use rock straps or something. So I can just tie that down a little bit. Now this is basically where it hits the end in this case, because the mounting point for my rear luggage rack, that's kind of where it is. So I mounted these in the back a bit different, that I have a bit more sort of pressure and pulled. That was one thing that was actually concerned about when I saw videos of this bag. Is it actually going to sit tight on the bike? And I'll show you that. It's, like I said, it's fully loaded, so there is a little bit of wiggle to it. But now you see, this is the level of it, so it's pretty solid. If that's not enough, add another strap, add a rock strap if you really need to secure it. But you know, if the buckles, if they hold up, I hope they do. I mean, they must have developed this with that in mind. This should be pretty safe. Now, when I talked about the Moto Bags, one of the features that I like is the ability to be able to lock them, to just take a padlock. Actually, they come with a padlock too, so they bring you one. You can use your own. I'm going to use my own. But they also thought about sort of securing the Overlander to your bike, and that's pretty cool too. And I have to show you that. It's basically under the flap. There's a sort of a metal bracket, and that metal bracket is sort of countered with like a metal plate. So that little piece allows you to use something like the steel core system. It's a mosquito. It's getting dark. Mosquitoes are coming out. Something like a steel core system. I'll show you how that works because I got that for myself for this particular trip. The steel core, that's a steel core strap, and like the name suggests, it's just a fabric nylon band, and they have a bit of wiring, and they're made out of steel. And then you sort of tighten it and lock it up. That's better than no security. I'm not sure how it works. So you would take parts of the steel core. Let's see if I've got this twisted. No, I don't. And just take it through the through that little bracket, and then you just have to fiddle it through your luggage rack, which I'm gonna do. Comes out the other side, and then you have to sort of loop it into this. I wasn't quite sure how to use it, but now, you know, I've tried it a few times, figured out how to use it, and you can, you know, really tie it down Also gives you that extra security if you're somewhere and you need to tie this down a bit more. There's your strap. It's kind of, you know, like your additional strap. And then once you have it in place, you just take this buckle, click it into place. You don't even have to lock it with the key. Of course, if you want to secure it, you would have to lock it with the key, but you don't have to. And then there's a sort of another piece of security. Also makes it nice if you have that beaver tail, kind of hides it away a little bit so it's not that obvious that you lock something and that it's secured. Pretty cool. So with all these great features that Loneheader has put into their bags, of course they share the same disadvantage that all pannier systems have and pannier racks have, is that the bike gets really wide. So that's the one downside, I think the biggest one that the system has. It's much harder now to weasel through traffic if you're in the city or if you're on a small path in the woods or something. You have to watch out that the bike and especially the bags, they don't hit anything. So that's something I have to get used to because this is the first time I'm riding with a bike that's that wide. Actually, that's not quite true. I had Stephan's bike at the Trans-Italia Marathon and they actually had a luggage rack, the same one that I'm using here. And I had, I think, enduro down bags. So they weren't quite as wide, but I almost hit something and I got this stuff in the intercom all the time. That's like, you have to watch out where you're going. So it's going to take a little time for me to get used to that. But that's a small price to pay to get that much cargo capacity on my bike. So one more thing I need to mention, that these bags have been provided to me by Lone Rider. They reached out to me probably just moments before I would have pulled the trigger on very likely their bags anyway. And their ADV tent, it's in one of those bags. I'll look at those tent in another video. It's the first time I'm actually doing a cooperation with the manufacturer. I've never really done it before, and I would only do it if it's equipment that I actually like and that I'm interested myself, which I am. I've never had the need for so much capacity, so that's why I had Lone Rider on the radar for a long time, but I was really never in need of that much storage capacity. Now with the motor camping I am, with the video equipment, my stuff I have to bring, and the motor camping, it's all in these bags. And I'm super excited to try these out in Iceland. In a few days I'm leaving. So guys, if you have questions, comments, put them in the comments section. There's going to be a link to the Lone Rider site if you want to look at all their lineup. If you haven't really heard of them before, there's an affiliate link as well. So if you click on it and you buy something through it, there's some money coming back to the channel if you want to support the channel that way. You don't have to, but if you do, it would make me really happy. Guys, ride safe and stay awesome. See you in the next video.